Next up, Anna Lou, a freshman from Hathaway Brown, is here to discuss with us paradigm shifts in mental health.
She wants everyone to know that she's just like everyone else, except that she is herself. Welcome, Anna Lou.
What is a paradigm? A paradigm is a way of looking at something. It is a standard, a perspective, a set of ideas. It can be as simple as an opinion about something, or as complex as fears, phobias, or habits. It's kind of like looking through a telescope, where the attention is focused on one thing. For example, if you think your brother is annoying, then you keep gonna think about all the things that make him seem annoying and forget about the rest. If you think that you're clumsy, you're just gonna keep thinking about all the clumsy things that you do and ignore the other parts. Now, what do you do if you discover you have a negative paradigm? Well, thankfully, our thoughts, ideas, and opinions change. A change in your paradigms is known as a paradigm shift. Now, here is an example of a paradigm shift. And here are some examples of negative paradigms. Raise your hand if you've seen or heard these before. I'm not a morning person. I hate school. I can't draw. I'm too tired to do anything. Pretty common, right? Now, here are some examples of positive paradigms. I can do this. I will get better. Anything is possible. You never know unless you try. Now, here's an example of a paradigm shift. So, a woman in London was waiting for her flight. While she was waiting, she decided to buy a cup of coffee and a packet of cookies. So she sat down at the table and decided to read a book. While she was reading, a man sitting across from her, let's call him Bob, reached over and took one of her cookies and ate it. Now, this woman was irritated, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she too took a cookie and ate it. And they continued this process until they were down to the last cookie, and the woman got angrier and angrier, but she still couldn't bring herself to say anything about it. Eventually, the man broke the cookie in half, gave half it to the woman, and he smiled and left. Now, this woman was still fuming, and when she reached it down into her handbag to open it up, inside it, she saw the packet of cookies still in there. So she was eating Bob's cookies all along. Now that's embarrassing. Well, that shows a paradigm shift because the woman originally had a pretty negative idea about Bob. But after she realized that he actually let a stranger randomly eat his cookies, she realized that he was actually pretty kind and considerate. Now, what do you do when you realize you have a flawed paradigm and you can't really go to an airport with cookies and coffee? Well, thankfully, there's a thing called reframes, where you reframe your mind and you redirect your thoughts and ideas and think from a different perspective. One example is the gratitude reframe, which involves being grateful for what you have. Most of us are pretty lucky with clean food, water, and beds to sleep in. Not all of us have that stuff, but we don't constantly think about how lucky we are to have these things since we're accustomed to them. Now, this can draw over to other aspects as well. For example, if you got, say, a new phone, or a new car, or new shoes, you're gonna be happy when you get them, but then after a while, you're gonna want something else. This cycle of constantly wanting and getting, and then wanting something else is called the hedonic treadmill. Now, raise your hand if you've ever gotten something you've always wanted, but then after a while you wanted something else. Yeah, I have too. So this hedonic treadmill is a never-ending cycle of lust, and it's really inevitable. But the thing is, you don't know how valuable something is until you lose it. Now, we've all lost something before, whether it was a loved one, a pet, a precious possession, your brain cells, or your sanity. We've all dealt with losses. Now, we don't know how important they are and how crucial they are when we lose them. So next time you find yourself stuck in a negative paradigm, just think about all the things you have that not many other people have, and just be thankful and happy that you have them. Now, the next reframe is the greener grass reframe. Now, raise your hand if you've heard of the saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. Now, the grass always looks greener because of envy, or maybe because the grass is fake. You may have seen people with better things than you, whether they have, say, a better high-paying job, or more followers, or a really nice car. Now, it looks pretty great, right? But what you don't know is that person with the super high-paying job could be working 60 hours a week on the verge of getting fired. That person with a bunch of followers, they could be just bots. And that person with a really nice car could be struggling with paying for it. You never know what's under the surface. So next time that you start feeling envy for these people, feel happiness for them instead. You may already know that there's a lot going on in this world right now, and if you can just feel an ounce of happiness for them, then that's a win. Now, the third reframe is called the pain into progress reframe. This reframe involves channeling your inner pain and anguish into achievement and greatness. Now, pain is inevitable. Losing is inevitable. Failure, mistakes, they're all inevitable. You don't have control over them. But what you do have control over is what you do with them. What do you do with the mistakes that you make? What do you do with all your failures? You see, the difference between normal people and successful people is what they do with all their failures, their mistakes. What do they do with them? According to Tim Ferriss, reality is negotiable. Reality is whatever you make it out to be. You have a choice. You can choose to let your mistakes define you, or you can defy your mistakes. Are you going to let your life control you, or will you control your life? The choice is yours. You can choose to turn your mistakes into successes. You can choose to let the world serve you. The choice is yours. After all, reality is negotiable. And what you choose to see is what you get. Thank you.